Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well. And it's that time of the week, and this is going to be the last time we do a video with this list of players in this precise capacity for the season because the regular season is over. Now, obviously, after this upcoming playoff game, I will probably make a video discussing these players at some length, but PFF, at least I'm pretty sure they don't roll like playoff rating into a player's season rating, so we're not going to be able to look at that. We're probably going to have to look at just that one individual game for each of those players. So, in terms of this like season-long tally for all these rookies and sophomores, this is the finale, and I got to tell you, it's pretty beautiful. There's a lot of stuff to be really excited about here. As far as a rookie class goes, I don't think things could have gone too much better, and there's a lot of promise going forward. So, with all that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right in and start taking a look at some of these young players, starting with the offensive lineman. Charles Cross played a pretty good game against the Rams, not great. He allowed 2 pressures and had 1 penalty. His run block grade fell a little bit, so his PFF overall grade did drop like 0.1. But overall, still a decent game. I don't have a problem with the way he played overall. And overall, he was a plus player. Now, that plus is a tiny plus, but I do believe it is a plus. When you're playing left tackle for almost 1,100 snaps, and you're going up against some of the better pass rushers in the league, you're going up against guys like Bradley Chubb and all the way back in week 1, and you continue to go through this year and you're constantly going up against guys like, Thibodeau in New York. Not one of the best pass rushers yet, but somebody who immense talent. Guys like Hutchinson, he I believe went up against him in week 4. Cam Jordan for the Saints. Just week after week of protecting your quarterback's blind side. And you give me a PFF grade of just shy of 64, I think that's a plus player, especially when he's 21 or 22 or whatever. Now, 48 pressures allowed, which is where he ends his 17-game regular season, sounds like a lot. I would remind people that that's less than 3 pressures a game on average. So Charles Cross, at the end of the day, playing 60 or so snaps a game, and probably 34 to 36 of those snaps on average are pass blocking snaps, is allowing less than 3 pressures a game. Also, it's actually comparable with other players at his position. As an example, Orlando Brown Jr., the guy the Chiefs traded a first-round pick for and are about to have to pay a ton of money, gave up about the same number of pressures this year. Now, the Chiefs pass more than the Seahawks, but the pressure count on PFF was basically the same. It's also in line with somebody like a Jonah Williams for the Bengals, the starting left tackle there. Jonah Williams gives up a similar number of pressures. Now, there are definitely tackles out there that lock down a lot more. There are guys like Laramie Tunsil who gave up like 1 pressure a game this year, I think. He ended up his season with like 17 or 18 pressures allowed, but that's a special player. Charles Cross is not there yet. Nobody should have expected that. So, great stuff. And Abe Lucas. He probably played better than Cross this year. Admittedly, his job is often a little bit easier because he's the right tackle, not protecting the blind side. And he did miss a game and a half. But Abe Lucas overall probably played better per snap. 68.5 grade, run block grade was 65. He did allow 9 sacks, but only 28 pressures. That's less than 2 a game. Even with the injury situation, that's still less than 2 a game. So we have a special tackle tandem here in Seattle. I think Abe Lucas stacks up very well with some of the better right tackles in the league. Not the best right tackles, but I think he's working his way towards being one of the best right tackles in the league. So very exciting there. And at the end of the day, we have a largely pass-first offense. We started 2 rookie tackles, and those 2 rookie tackles combined to give up less than a sack per game. Both had run block grades above 60, and 60 is generally considered like treading water, and allowed a grand total of 60 Yeah, 66 pressures, or no, I'm sorry, 76 pressures. I think I can live with that. Kurhan played a little bit, boosted his grade a little bit, but he didn't really do that much in terms of like quantifiable stats. Same for Stone Forsyth. Neither guy really blew the doors off anybody this season for the little bit that they played. That's what happens when you play out of position. All right, linebackers. This one's going to be short. Really, the only guy who ended up playing anything significant this year was Mafe, and Mafe had a good game against the Rams. He had a few tackles, including a sack, and he had 2 quarterback pressures. So, given how little Mafe played, and given his lack of experience playing football at any level, I think the season he had is pretty reasonable. 3 sacks, 10 pressures, 41 tackles, a plus PFF grade. Yeah, I think that's a player that I'm pretty happy with going into next year. Okay, so now we move on to the offensive skill players, and we've got some really fun stuff here, not just with Ken Walker, although that is the most fun thing, obviously. Ken Walker, his PFF grade fell a little bit, but that was mostly because it was so high. It's really hard for that grade to go up because it's starting from such a high water point. He had a 100-yard game, and he was a huge part of the game-winning drive. Those runs he had on that final drive of the game, when you know he's tired and you know he's playing through an injury, we wouldn't be in the playoffs right now without that. And at the end of the day, his yards per carry average has kind of fallen off a little bit. It's like 4.6 now, but I think a lot of that is because of how we use him and the fact that we didn't have Rashad Penny to make his life easier for these last 12 weeks. So I'm happy with that. At the end of the day, you're talking about a rookie running back giving you 1,200 yards from scrimmage on 255 touches, 9 touchdowns, and he, I think, had some of his best games, if not his best games, period, in the last, I'd say last 3 games of the year. He was the guy who was pushing you towards that ultimate playoff spot more than maybe anybody except Quandre Diggs. I don't know. But yeah, Ken Walker, very exciting. Derek Young and Cade Johnson both finally got the ball in their hands. And it's a tiny sample size. We can't learn that much from it. But the snaps where Derek Young lines up at fullback are fun. His skill set is intriguing. And Cade Johnson looked like a real slot receiver on Sunday. He looked like a guy who has the skill set that you want in a slot receiver. So I don't know where we go from here with those 2 guys, but Derek Young is still going to be under contract for at least another couple years if we want him. And Cade is going to be easy to keep around if you want to. So Cade, I've had my eye on him ever since we picked him up. That was actually something that was really exciting to me. So I'm open to the possibility of Cade becoming at least some small part of this team moving forward. And that's it for the offensive skill players. Eskridge never came back this year. At this point, even if he did come back, I don't think he would play. So just another lost season for Eskridge, I guess. And now we get to the most fun stuff, the defensive backs. I don't know about necessarily this game, but overall this year, the defensive backs have definitely been the most fun of our young players. Now, Trey Brown actually did get to play in this game. Just real quick, I want to throw that out there. He didn't do anything. He played 3 plays when Woolen got hurt. And his PFF grade went up a little bit just because he didn't allow anything, I guess. So there you go. Good for Trey Brown. We got to see him again this year. Kobe Bryant had a nice game. He had a sack. He almost had a second sack. That nickel corner blitz, I like it. We need to keep doing that. It worked. I remember we used to do it with, I think it was Justin Coleman, and it worked. Seems like it can work with Kobe. Seems like it could work with other players too. I like that nickel corner blitz. And I think that was a big part of the reason why his grade went up a couple points. He did give up a few things in coverage, but nothing terrible. And made a few tackles and just kind of took care of business. So Kobe Bryant ends his 2022 season with a PFF grade of about 59. And if you look at where Kobe started the year, you know, second play of his career, he gets toasted by Jerry Jeudy for a 60-yard touchdown. And then he gets thrown into the fire playing out of position at nickel corner for a team that doesn't have much of a pass rush. For him to get his PFF grade up to about 59, which is just below like the treading watermark, is actually, I think, pretty good. So exciting development there. I don't know what his future is here in Seattle. Some people say move him to safety, maybe. Some people say move him outside. I mean, that makes the most logical sense to me, but we have a logjam there right now, and maybe you leave him at nickel. I don't feel like he'll ever be a great nickel, but maybe he can be okay. Like, I don't know. That's an interesting one, but you got to have Kobe on the field because he's a playmaker. He forced 4 fumbles this year. He had another fumble taken away from him by the refs. He had an interception taken away by the refs. He had another one that was taken away because somebody away from Kobe committed a penalty. I can't even remember who it was. So, got to get him on the field one way or the other. And, of course, finally, the star of the show and everyone's favorite, Tariq Woolen, his grade, I believe, actually, I think it went down a tiny bit. He did give up a couple catches, but he had another pass deflection. His QBR against is 70. And at the end of the day, we live in an era where it's really hard to get PBUs. I think mostly because offenses these days are built around plays where players get wide open, like receivers are just open by 5+ yards. It's hard to get PBUs, and Woolen averaged almost 1 PBU a game. So I look at that and I go, that's almost as big to me as the interceptions. And the fact that you've got 2 rookie defensive backs who had 70 and 63 tackles, I know that you don't necessarily want your cornerbacks to get a lot of tackles, but in their cases, it wasn't necessarily because they were giving up a ton of stuff in coverage. So, pretty good. And that's it for the rookies. See you guys later. Go Hawks.